we have a whole lot to get to throughout the NBA. The NBA season is right around the corner. Preseason starts December 11th, and the regular season will start December 22nd. We'll get into exactly what all of that means moving forward, but before the preseason starts, we have this thing called the offseason. And the offseason has winners and losers. And we are here to give you those winners and losers based on the draft, based on free agency, based on trades that have been made. Taking all of that information and just spewing it back out to you guys, saying, okay, this is where we think each team which teams progressed, which teams regressed, and what players are in better situations moving forward. So with that being said, Nick, why don't you give us your 3 NBA offseason winners?
So my 3 offseason winners were the Los Angeles Lakers, Atlanta Hawks, and the Miami Heat. And quickly, my breakdown is Lakers' biggest signing, Montrezl Harrell. I think the signing of Montrezl Harrell solidifies them as finals candidates, and I think they should have the highest odds of winning it all this season once again. On top of that, you get Dennis Schroeder, and who's going to replace Rajon Rondo, who is a better Rajon Rondo, a younger Rondo. You re-sign Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who's going to help you off the bench. That's a great signing. And then, last of all, you add Marc Gasol, who is going to be great. He is, in my opinion, better than Dwight Howard, and I think that he is going to help them significantly. This is a team that is much scarier than last season. Yes, they have not signed Anthony Davis yet, but we all know that he will be signing back with them any day now.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Davis, he's going back to LA. And just to, hammer home the fact, Marc Gasol is by far and away much better than Dwight Howard was. Dwight Howard is a rim protector. He is an outmoded type of center that really can't excel in this league anymore. He has to sit underneath the basket to be and he's a detriment on offense most of the time. The fact remains that Marc Gasol can stretch the floor. He hits the 3 ball at about a 29% clip, which is really, really good in and of itself, let alone at the 5 position. He plays the pick and roll really well, which is going to work well with some of the players like Kyle Kuzma, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Dennis Schroeder handling the ball is going to help a lot, give some rest. They're going to have players that can give rest to LeBron and AD. I think they got much stronger. And then Montrezl Harrell on top of it is just the icing on the cake. Not only did you sign the 6th man of the year, but you also took him away from your arch rival who you share a stadium with in the LA Clippers.
Yeah. And so and then, the Atlanta Hawks, they drafted Onyeka Okongwu, who is going to be amazing with Trae Young. You have you signed Bogdan Bogdanovic, which is an amazing sign. You got Bogdan. I see what you're getting at. I see what you got me. I'll give you that one. You got me.
I had to.
You've got Rajon Rondo, who's going to be a great on-ball guard off the bench. Danilo Gallinari, who adds size. He's a great three shot for you. He's going to be a great add to that team. And then you add Chris Dunn, who's going to add some much needed depth off the bench as well. This team, I think, has improved the most out of any team this offseason, and I expect a lot from this team. I can't wait to see how Trae Young does with weapons around him finally.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you've always been a big Trae Young fan.
No, yeah, I've loved what Trae Young's about. He was the underdog coming out of school. I mean, he excelled in March Madness the year before he was drafted, and that's really what put him on the map. And then he was drafted, and then he was traded for Luka Doncic from the Mavericks. It was, they kind of just swapped picks, and it was already done. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it worked out for both teams, and Trae Young is thriving in Atlanta, and he is going to eat this season.
Yeah,
And
they're building around him. Bogdan
for sure.
Bogdanovic was the prized possession, it seemed, throughout the offseason, because they had the quote unquote sign and trade deal with the Milwaukee Bucks until he said, I didn't agree to sign or with
Yeah.
with you to get traded there.
Yep.
There's no shot. And then he ends up signing away from the Sacramento Kings, doesn't go to the Bucks, and the Bucks had already banked on him coming to their team, and that whole thing falling apart. We'll get to that later. Danilo Gallinari, one of the most underrated, disrespected players in the NBA, from his time with the Knicks to the Nuggets and then to the Clippers. Everything he's been able to do, he is a role model on and off the floor. He plays great defense. He's a very long, big, and strong body, and he hits the 3-pointer extremely well. He does exactly what you want him to do, and I think this is a huge piece, a very underrated piece for them specifically.
Yeah. And finally, the Miami Heat, they re-signed Goran Dragic, which was absolutely necessary. It was huge for them. They solidify getting their pieces back from last season, and they get to make another push to the finals. And then on top of it, you add Avery Bradley, and then you draft Precious Achua. I probably said his name wrong, but Precious Achua, he is going to be a great add for them, who's going to help them. He fits their system. He's going to work well with Bam Adebayo. He's kind of a shorter four, but he has a really long reach, who's going to help them a lot. Avery Bradley is a really nice signing for them. He's going to add very necessary defensive help on to the team, and they're going to now be able to compete even more with the Boston Celtics, the Raptors, and the Bucks in the East. So this team is looking a lot more solid. Plus, you have all the guys that are returning with more experience under their belt. I think that the Miami Heat are the team to watch out for in the East.
Yeah, I like Tyler Hero. I like Duncan Robinson and Jimmy Butler. I don't like them when I play them, but other than that, I like them nonetheless. They're really good players. Pat Riley and what's the coach in Miami? What's his name?
Eric Spoelstra.
Eric Spoelstra. They understand what it takes to get it done. They've been there. They've done it before. Albeit you can say they did it with LeBron James and Chris Bosh, but they know what it takes to build a great team, and they're doing that. They're rounding it out with great depth, 3-and-D pieces. They're drafting well. They're adding everything that Jimmy Butler wants around him. I'm happy. These Miami Heat, they're no joke, and they got stronger after just making it to the finals. They have to be considered a top, if not the top team in the Eastern Conference
for sure.
All right, let me give you my 3 winners just quickly. The Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns have just absolutely blown the doors off of literally everybody. They had an impressive performance in the bubble. They didn't lose a single game. I don't know how they still missed the playoffs, but that's a different discussion. They acquired Chris Paul, retained Dario Saric, and came up with deals for Jay Crowder, Javon Carter, and Damian Jones. On top of the fact, Devin Booker is already an all NBA player, who's now going to play alongside Chris Paul. You have DeAndre Ayton at the center position. Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson are the key pieces that are the young pieces that are gonna help Phoenix in the middle of that rotation. And Monty Williams is an incredible coach. Look for the Phoenix Suns to be a dominant presence at I would say toward the middle to back end of the Western Conference division, but they can make a whole hell of a lot of noise in the postseason if you don't give them the credit they deserve.
Absolutely, yeah. This is a team that, they won out in the bubble, and they didn't make the playoffs. But this is a team that is absolutely they have improved tremendously, and you're going to see this team really start to compete and get better. They're not going to obviously compete with the Lakers this season and make a run for the finals, but this is a team that is has made leaps and bounds improvements upon what they had the previous season.
And nobody says they have to be the ones to take out the Lakers. If a team like Denver or the Clippers or somebody else is able to take the Lakers out in the playoffs, Phoenix could have an easier run to the the Western Conference Finals, the playoffs. I mean, don't sleep on them, because the more you sleep on them, the more they're going to thrive, and they are no joke. I'm telling you. Now you gave scoring options to Devin Booker. Chris Paul can handle commanding that offense. Devin Booker doesn't have to be on ball all the time. You just opened up this offense massively. James Jones, the general manager of the Phoenix Suns, has done an incredible job, and he deserves a lot of recognition for their quick turnaround that they've been able to pull off. My second winner for the NBA offseason is the Portland Trailblazers. Neil O'Shea, who is the GM in Portland, has made some very interesting moves to help Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum and give them some reinforcements moving forward. They were able to keep Carmelo Anthony, which is a huge opportunity for them. On top of the fact they added Enes Kanter, who they used to have and thrived with them, backing up who's their center? I can't think of his name. Nurkic. Yusuf Nurkic.
Yes.
And then they added one of the best six men in the league, Robert Covington from the Houston Rockets. On top of that, they added Rodney Hood, Derek Jones Jr., and Harry Giles. These players, again, are very deep. They provide a lot of shooting depth, a lot of defensive depth. Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum are not going to be asked to do all of the scoring. They're going to be able to rely on their bench to hold leads and maybe close gaps while they're on the bench and do all sorts of things. Enes Kanter is one of the best offensive centers that we have in the NBA right now. Defensively speaking, there's a lot left to be desired, but that's not what he's going to be asked to do, especially coming off the bench. He's going to be there to give them more of an offensive presence. And if they want, which they used to do a couple years ago when Enes Kanter was there, they can play Kanter and Nurkic at the same time, and you have two centers combating the Marc Gasol, Anthony Davis combination that the Lakers have. And that is definitely something that will provide fits for the Lakers moving forward. So the Portland Trailblazers and Neil O'Shea have definitely done a ton of work to get back to where they wanted to be.
Yeah, and I kind of put them in the same boat as the Phoenix Suns. I think that this is a team that is a fringe playoff team that has enough talent to make it. But, it's going to be interesting to see how these guys are communicating with each other. And it's really not a lot of outside additions that they're having. It's a lot of re-signing who they had and bringing players back who they previously had. So in the situation we're in, where there is really no offseason, you're going to have a couple preseason games, and then we're going to get into the regular season. That this is the type of offseason that it's going to work out for them. This is going to bode well, and they're going to thrive with, because the chemistry is there. They just got to rekindle it.
For sure. I think that the Portland Trailblazers are in a much better position than they were a year ago. I think they realized that they had some significant holes that Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum just couldn't handle by themselves, because it's too much. Just to have two players is not enough. You need to be able to put pieces around them. I think the depth was definitely lacking. As much as Dame time is something special to watch, he needs other pieces to get to that point in the game, let alone in the season. And then my third winner isn't a team necessarily. It's power forward, small forward, Gordon Hayward. Gordon Hayward opted out of his player option, which was a shock to almost everybody, because nobody thought that he would have the market that he ended up having, simply because of the fact that he dealt with so many injuries in his time in Boston. He didn't look like the player that came out of Utah and out of Butler. So I think even with Brad Stevens as the head coach and trying to force feed him the ball, it just never seemed to work out in Boston. And that's not on him necessarily. I think it was just a mixture of Jason Tatum is a much better scorer than Gordon Hayward is. The slashing type is held down by Jaylen Brown. I think that he was more of a redundancy and more of a luxury to have, if you will. So he opts out of his player option, and it was a little puzzling at first because knowing that he was owed $24.5 million over one season, I didn't think he was going to get that. Not only did he get $24.5 million, he signed a 4-year, $120 million contract with the Charlotte Hornets. The Charlotte Hornets gave him $30 million. Sorry, they gave him $30 million a year. And I can't fathom why they thought that bringing in an aged and oft injured Gordon Hayward was the move that they needed to make. But this is why I call him the winner, not necessarily the team, because he's going to provide a lot of support, and he's going to be the slasher that he once was, or what he was expected to be in Boston. But he's much older. He got a fully guaranteed $120 million over the next 4 years. He becomes the I guess second brand name star on the Charlotte Hornets under the tutelage of Michael Jordan. I really don't see how Gordon Hayward loses here. Needless to say, I don't think the Hornets made the greatest decision here. I'm a little surprised, and the fact that he was hellbent on trying to get back to Indiana, where he was born and raised, and then ended up opting himself to choose Charlotte because he couldn't get Danny Ainge couldn't get a deal done with the Pacers, so he decided to take matters into his own hands, take the deal that was left for him by Charlotte, and said, "Sayonara, I'm taking it. I'm taking my bags and leaving."
It's a great job by Gordon Hayward finessing the system, finessing the Charlotte Hornets, and he's gonna add some help to this team. Obviously, they drafted LaMelo Ball, so he's going to be the star, and Gordon Hayward's definitely gonna help him out. If Gordon Hayward can stay healthy, he's a great player, so they're definitely getting a good value here if he's available. But that's the thing. Will he be available? And that's something that we need to watch out for. This is a great job on Gordon Hayward's part, getting this deal done, securing more money than anybody ever expected him to get. I can't see that he's going to just, like, all those injury problems are just going to go away now that he's out of Boston. I can't see that happening. And this really doesn't set up with the lucrative contract that Charlotte gave him. This is really putting the future of the team in a bad spot, and it's putting LaMelo Ball, your future or your hopeful future star, in a very bad spot where there really aren't pieces around him where he can move the ball around, and it's really going to be a lot of attention focused on LaMelo and Gordon Hayward. So
yeah.
The team itself really dropped the ball here, but Gordon Hayward absolutely succeeded this offseason.